Welcome or welcome back. It is not lost on me that it has been 2 months since I have posted a video on the channel, and I will address that in a separate video. But let's just say that I've really been struggling with chronic fatigue and just trying to figure out what the heck is even going on to begin with. But I wanted to come on here and felt called to come on here, and just so you know where I'm at, like physically on this current day. I'm sitting in front of this window, there are a bunch of birds eating at the bird feeder. We have some hummingbirds right up here, but we're almost out of nectar for them, which is also quite symbolic because of what I'm about to talk about. But today's Lionsgate, and there's some things that were going on in my personal life that felt like the perfect time to make this video, because I had originally made a video about what it's like to have Uranus and Neptune in the first house, based on my own experience, based on what I could imagine were themes and things in my own life that had basically led to what my life has been like, who I am like, what I may come off as to others. And I was asked a very great question in the comments, which has led to me making this video right now. And it's so funny because I've been so interested in astrology for like at least 10 years now. Yeah, at least 10 years now. I've been interested in learning astrology. And it has been a long journey of being prepared to go into learning about houses, into aspects, and whatnot. But the fact that I so obviously ignored that I have Uranus and Neptune retrograde in my first house is not lost on myself either. Mercury retrograde, by the way. So the person asked me in the comments, so what would you say about someone who has Uranus and Neptune in the first house retrograde in the sign of Capricorn? And I was like, and I sat for a minute, I was like, huh. And then I was like, hold on a minute. And I went to go check my birth chart, and I was like, I have Uranus and Neptune retrograde in Capricorn in the first house. Obviously, I knew it was in Capricorn, but I did not ever pay attention to the fact there was a little R next to each of those planets. And as much as Mercury is currently retrograding right now, and as often as I make that something that people around me are always aware of when it happens, any planet going retrograde, I was pretty surprised that I had just completely ignored that, especially considering it's in the first house, but even outside of being in the first house, what that does. I also have Saturn retrograde, and I also have Pluto retrograde in very big, important houses. So I had to process that for a minute before I could even come on here and give my perspective, which I'm grateful that I was asked, so that I was invited, so that I could share this. And to be honest with you, I was having a really hard time conceptualizing what it means to have Uranus retrograde and Neptune retrograde, first of all, and then to imagine it in the sign of Capricorn. So a lot of what has come to me since this time of me doing some research is a lot of my own personal experiences, and so I will be speaking from the lens of what I've learned and read so far about these placements, and then taking it into my own experience of life, giving my own examples that may then hopefully then spark your own experiences. So for me, my best resource that I found was going to another YouTuber who I used to follow on Party Trick Astrology. She now has her own, they both split off and made their own channels, and her name is Shayna, and that's just the name of her YouTube channel, Shana. And she talked about having Uranus and Neptune retrograde. She talked about, and she like literally had just posted this, like this is a new video series from her about the inner planets retrograde, the outer planets retrograde. And I was like, oh, perfect. I like this girl. I've learned from her before. She gives great examples. Let me listen a little bit and see, because I had already done some reading on the internet about the placement. And I should have just gone right here in this book case and read about it in some of the books, but a lot has been going on. I digress. So, what I received from what she said about having Uranus and Neptune retrograde in those planets is what I'll share first, and then I'll share what it's like to then put that in the first house so you can kind of just imagine it as I'm talking about it. And then in the sign of Capricorn, which was even adding more layers. So she explained that having Uranus, and I would recommend just watching her video because it was great, but she said having Uranus in retrograde and Neptune retrograde, but I'll go over Uranus first, is like taking all of the aspects that are Uranian that you would experience in your outer environment and having them turned inward. So instead of experiencing it on the outside of you, it's experienced on the inside of you, which means oftentimes other people are not going to have an awareness to that. So where your Uranus is erratic and sporadic and shakes things up to create great change and is very electric and what's that word? Come on, Mercury. Unpredictable. I would say very Uranus rules Aquarius, a kind of Aquarian in nature. But she said when it's retrograde, it becomes more Saturnian. It becomes a little bit more harsher, a little bit more rougher. I'm already a Capricorn rising. I already have Saturn retrograde. Like, I understand Saturn. And so she said it is just a less like this and a little bit more like this. And she explained that having Uranus retrograde as well takes all of the aspects of what make you unique, what make you you, what make you weird, what make you zany, what makes you erratic, what makes you unpredictable. All of those aspects of you are not outside. They're not out here. They're inside, where no one can see except yourself. And her just explaining that, essentially the entire time she was explaining Uranus retrograde, she was explaining in every way possible that a lot of the things that would make you seem weird, seem different, seem unique, seem sporadic, unpredictable, all of those aspects gets turned inward. Now imagine having Uranus retrograde in the first house, and it's conjunct my rising. It's like right on my rising sign degree. Having that in the house of your personality, having it in the house of who you are, having it in the house of how you express yourself, immediately to me, and if you're watching this, you most likely have Uranus and Neptune retrograde in your first house in the sign of Capricorn, because that's what I'm making this for. Ultimately, adding that Capricorn energy to me makes it seem so like hard on yourself and almost like becoming so strict about yourself in a way, because the first and immediate examples that came to me was literally my entire life, from little kid tiny me in like kindergarten all the way up into high school, all the way into community college, all the way into the work field, all the way into my interpersonal relationships, and every single fiber and aspect of my experience here on earth. It has been a Uranus retrograde experience of, let me show a little bit of myself. Oh no, okay, never mind. They said I was weird. Let me show a little bit more of myself. Oh, they're looking at me funny and disgusted. Oh, let me show a little bit more of myself. Okay, now they're treating me differently and making fun of me. Okay, so none of this can come out and it needs to just stay. That's what I feel like some of what happens is, because I guarantee you from birth to like 6, 7, when we still really don't give about what other people think and we're just free to be little kids and we're just expressing ourselves, I guarantee you I was super, and I know this, and this is also something that I learned from her saying this. She talked about how you hide the weirdness, or the weirdness is internal, or the weirdness is inside. I'm very aware of how weird I am, but I never brought myself into an awareness that I don't show that a lot, and that many people, most people, if even any one person is aware of that. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I have been hiding it. It has been, no one in my outer environment, if you ask them, what is blah blah like? No one would ever say, oh yeah, she's super weird. She's like a weirdo. She's like so eccentric. I used to hear that a long, long time ago when I was like a child. I have vivid memories of people saying, "You're weird." I have vivid memories of people being like, "That." I have vivid memories of people being disgusted. I have vivid memories of the reaction to me, the first house of who I was. And having Capricorn there specifically, I'm guaranteeing it, at least from my own personal perspective, equates to that strong Saturnian, like, okay, I want to be Capricorn energy. I want to be successful in who I am. I want to be successful in sharing myself. I want to feel successful. I want to have risen to a higher level of self. The lower vibration of that Capricorn energy is going to be, oh, they said I was weird. Okay, what do they look like? Okay, I'm going to do more of that. Oh, they looked at me disgustedly. Okay, what kind of things do they do? What do I need to be outside of me in order for people to accept me? Is essentially how I felt Uranus retrograde in the first house in Capricorn feels like. That Capricorn energy is just going to take it. And instead of like maybe a Leo who is proud to be who they are and being like, okay, I don't care that you looked at me weird. I'm just going to be even weirder. Instead of doing that, the Capricorn so badly wants to be successful and to rise and to thrive. So you want so badly to be successful in who you are and how you are presented to the world that low vibration Capricorn energy will be like playing chess and like, okay, so what do I need to do? What are these people doing? Okay, let me do that. That's how I'm seeing it for me, from my personal perspective, from what I listened to her in her video, and then my own personal experiences, and then seeing like, what did I do? Oh yeah, I hid all of that. So I had a perfect example too. Chlorophyll water. If you haven't tried it, please try it. It doesn't really taste like anything, but it's so good. It has like a slight taste. I'm having trouble drinking just water without chlorophyll in it now. But anyway, so I imagine it like this. This used to be me as a little tiny me. It was looking like this. And I'm sure it would even look like this if I really just let my freak flag fly, right? So I'm just looking like this, going around, and people don't like it. It makes them feel weird, it makes them uncomfortable. And so what do? I'm like, okay. Okay, no. We don't do that. Okay, gotcha. That's weird. Okay, that's weird. We don't do that. That's weird. No one likes it. It's gross. Make fun of you. So let's not. Capricorn energy. Let's not. No, we're not gonna do that anymore. What are you doing? Okay, I'm gonna do that. That's what I imagine Uranus retrograde in Capricorn the first. Now I'm gonna try and make this video kind of short. So I kind of have to move to my next point because I could talk about that probably for a very long time considering it's the first house. Second planet she talked about was Neptune retrograde in Capricorn. And I'm going to get to like taking both of these placements and then what I think is happening now during our current astrological times for these people. So Neptune retrograde in Pisces is essentially along the same terms in experiencing it outer and taking it inner again, but instead of the theme of the Uranus topics, it's Neptunian topics, which is spirituality, which is faith, which is belief, which is trust, which is hope, which is dreams, which is spirit, which is God, which is everything, which is just like every little single thing. And the way she explained it was like, whatever beliefs you have, whatever, like if you walk around and you saw someone who was like a nun, you would know very clearly that a nun was expressing outwardly what she believed in and her faith because you see it. It's out of her. The Neptunian person, it would be inside. You wouldn't really see it. And I want to even say, considering that Uranus and Neptune are both retrograding here in the first house, it's almost like because of what you experience with the Uranus retrograde in your life, most likely, creates even more of an inwardness in your Neptune retrograde to a point. Let me continue. So I'm kind of getting myself there. So for me, hearing like her say like, so, you know, your spirituality may be inward. You may hide that from people. You may feel like you don't have the same beliefs as your family, or you're never in religion at all, or now you found a religion. It's something about how you are separate a lot from those around you. And the things that you believe are starkly, contrastingly different from what your family believes, and you hide it. You put it inside of you. You feel like it's not safe to bring out, especially if you have Uranus retrograde, Neptune retrograde together in the first house in Capricorn. So for me, this was also quite and very obvious. Not as a child, because for most of my childhood in the Neptune retrograde way, there was no real speak of God. There wasn't a lot, like I knew to pray at night, but I didn't really have a good conceptual understanding of like who I was praying to. And I got a little older, and then I started seeing like my dad's side. They're Catholic. So when I would go to visit my Puerto Rican side of my family, I would go to a Catholic church, but no one said anything to me. I was just taking it all in. So I'm like seeing candles, and it was beautiful. I remember that. I remember all the candles, and I like knew something was happening, but no one was telling me. So again, I was very kind of separate, but I was in it. So I was in these places, but I felt like I didn't really know what was going on. And then it wasn't until like 17, 18-ish, as I'm entering into like my own form, that I began to like notice things. And it wasn't all at once. It was like once I turned like 22-ish, 23, when this started to really grow for me. And instead of just like calling it religion or spirituality, it was like my own personal awareness and connection to like the God force, the God source, life, essence, God, goddess, spirit, connection, being like connected to the truth that we are here for higher things, for a higher purpose. I was getting connected to all of that during my spiritual awakening, my galactic ancestors, and connecting to like my spirit guides, archangels that I was working with, started like really getting into it. Like it was just always supposed to have happened. But having that Neptune retrograde, I have very vivid and clear memories, because it was very recently, it wasn't as a child, of like having to hide that, having to put that within because of the beliefs of my family, or beliefs of those around me, and it making them uncomfortable, even though I like, it almost reawoke like that Uranian, oh, I can be weird, because my spirituality, my connection, like it comes one and the same. But especially in the house of you, how you express yourself, and that Capricorn energy being there, what it was first like for me was hiding it. And so I would like hide my tarot cards, I would hide my crystals, I was hiding everything that I was taking in, because I already knew and had already felt and kind of already seen that it wasn't going to be accepted. I was going to be called like a witch. I was going to be called all these things that I never gave myself the title of or never connected to. And it was way less about a title and more about the wisdom and knowledge that I was gaining through these experiences. So a lot of like the, oh, I would probably want to dress this way, or I'd probably want to, I wasn't doing any of that. It wasn't like, this is my spiritual experience and I'm going to wear these clothes so other people know. It was like, I have all of these tools that I'm getting that are connecting me to spirit, to myself, to God, to the angels, but I'm going to hide it. I'm going to put it away, and I'm not going to share it because I've seen the reactions to sharing it and making people uncomfortable. Even like when I first started speaking about astrology, it made my mother uncomfortable. And when I started, like I was doing tarot readings at one point for friends, trying to grow my practice, see if it was something that I was being called to do. And I got excited because I was like, oh, look, I'm being of service, which is what I'm here to do. And I tried to like show my mom, and she couldn't receive it. And in hearing that video about Neptune retrograde and her saying, you might feel like you can't share this with your family, or it's very separate from your family. And I have felt so many times like I was excited to share this. And in the moment that I was looking at her as I was sharing, like, look, I did a reading, like I could feel like, oh, no, we can't share that. That's not safe to share. You're not going to be accepted in sharing that. And I've spoken many times about how I feel. This is how I also knew a good way to explain, especially if you have Neptune retrograde in Capricorn, that how you may feel is like there's always going to be a very specific version of you that you have to be around many of the people in your earthly life, in your tribe, like your family line, maybe in like the adopted homes you're in, or just like places you don't necessarily choose, but you're kind of just in, because I'm sure if you could choose, you would find places where you felt you could do that. But many of you may find yourself saying like, oh, when I'm here, I have to be this version of me, which means that I can't talk about astrology. I can't talk about praying to my angels. I can't pray about the vision that I had in meditation. I can't talk about my dreams that I had with Mary Magdalene. I can't, like, there's so many things that I am experiencing in this life that have made me who I am and am developing who I am that I don't feel safe to share about myself with other people because of the reaction and the response that I get. I am weaving more of my human design into my own personal experience, but as far as Uranus, Neptune retrograde, and Capricorn in the first house goes, it's a lot of I don't feel safe or comfortable to express this outwardly because of the reactions and responses that I've gotten. And so in my Capricornian way, you won't know, and I'll just hide it and I'll keep it inside, and you're just going to get the version of me that I think makes you comfortable and that doesn't ruffle any feathers and that allows us to be at least harmoniously enough in the same space together, considering I have my moon in Libra. So maybe that's more me. Some of you are probably like, no, I'm going to ruffle a little. And sometimes I would try to ruffle a little because just like that energy. But this is where I'm going to close out the video. I'm wrapping up my point. I wanted to bring it together in what I think has been happening for us as Uranus, Neptune retrograde Capricorn people. And I believe that pre-Pluto, like, I'm trying to imagine, okay, how long has Pluto been in Capricorn for? When did Pluto move into Capricorn? Like 2012? I know it's been a while, okay? But hear me out. Go and look up, I wish I could look it up right now. Go and look up when Pluto entered into the sign of Capricorn. Because I guarantee you, whatever degree your rising sign starts at, when Pluto started getting close and moving close to the first house, coming for Capricorn energy, coming to grind and to tear things away that do not serve us, our first house, ourself, that do not serve who we are, I guarantee you there was a little bit more of a struggle in like starting to hide some of the pieces that wanted to come out. Like Pluto moving into Capricorn in the first house for us with that Uranus and Neptune retrograde, I feel like already having Pluto and Capricorn in my first house was very hard. And I still have Pluto in my first house because I have all 30 degrees of Aquarius intercepted in my first house. But imagine Capricorn low vibrational energy is like money, power, wealth, growing, foundation. Like I want to be successful. I want to be the best of the best, the cream of the crop, the GOAT, as people say. Imagine that is like your only goal. It's all for yourself and your own accolades and your own ability to lift yourself up. But Pluto comes in and is like, no, it's not all about you. It's not all about just you. It is way more than this. And like Pluto is a generational planet. So it's like, what are you going to do with these things that you want to elevate everyone, to elevate humanity, to make a difference, to be a leader? And Pluto moving through the first house of us, wanting us to be better, it's like kind of like some things start coming out. Some things start moving around and you can't really hide it as much anymore. Pluto is asking you not to hide it as much anymore. Pluto is asking you, instead of like pushing it all in and hiding all of it in, like maybe let some of it out sometimes. Just try it out. See how it feels to let it out sometimes. And I do apologize because I have not done my hair, so this is just perfect timing to use this analogy. Imagine Pluto's asking you to let it out sometimes. And not only to let it out just to be like, oh yeah, look, I'm out. You can't tell me what to do. But to understand all of how much you have grown. How much of you has become so unique through the experiences that you have had here. How intricate and beautifully woven together the tapestry of yourself is from what you have learned, from what you're not afraid to show. So for me, this has been hard. And I will tell you, when Pluto entered into my first house, I remember it was getting harder to hide these things. And when Pluto was in my first house, it was when I decided, oh, I'm not going to just do what my family wants me to do. Oh, I am going to go and try and do something different. I'm going to go move to Colorado. I'm going to work at a crystal shop. I'm gonna go now. I'm running away from this house, and now I'm just living out of my car, and I'm just traveling into a bunch of different places in nature. Oh, now I'm connecting to my spirit guides. Now I'm sharing it on YouTube. There were so many things that Pluto was like, we're gonna just ask you to just like just try to share yourself. Just try to be a little weird. Just try to express the things you believe in. Try to share your faith a little bit. Like, I don't feel that having Uranus Neptune retrograde in the first house in Capricorn means that you're always going to hide yourself or that your spirituality is always within. But I do believe that having Pluto having just moved through that and gone over those points in us, wherever they were at, whatever degrees you experienced it in, was really holding up a mirror to ourselves of like, why do you still hide? What are you still hiding from yourself? What do you believe? What do you no longer believe that you haven't sat with in yourself? Like, have all these things that you feel like you have to keep like hiding and putting away? Are you looking at what you're hiding and putting away? There are other things in that subconscious realm, Pluto and Capricorn, that need to be let go of, that are sitting in there with all your uniqueness. I'm trying to make this video short. Oh my God, it's so long. I might have to make this 2 parts. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm sure those of you who listen to astrology videos are not that upset when they're this length of time. But for me, this has been a new experience of sitting with Uranus and Neptune retrograde. And I'm also speaking about it during Mercury retrograde. So thank you for your patience. To me, Pluto having just moved through there for us has been taking us into a higher expression of Capricorn. And the higher expression of Capricorn, again, is what can I do? What can I do to build a foundation, still the Capricornian things, to build a legacy, to build a greater thing for all of us? What kind of foundation can I set? What kind of example can I set? What kind of things can I do that elevate everyone? That helps the earth, that helps the animals, that helps the people, that helps the water. What can I do with who I am, with how I share myself as in the first house? What can I do to truly be authentically me and share me in a peaceful, grounded, learned way from all of the experiences that I've had that helps to elevate others, maybe even into inspiring them to do the same, or to really elevate literal, tangible, physical experiences here on earth through only being able to be me, as uniquely you as you are. And having Uranus, Neptune retrograde in the first house in Capricorn definitely makes you very uniquely you. And it's hiding. And you're hiding it. And Pluto in Capricorn was kind of asking us to reveal some of that. And maybe creating the discernment on who you reveal it to and who is worthy of it being revealed to. Thank you, Spirit. That's what they wanted me to say. Who is worthy of you being revealed to? Because there are people you are going to meet in your life who you are safe to reveal it to. And it's about moving from those traumas, at least for me, as a child, of like, it's not safe to be me. I'm not accepted to be me. And even in my most recent life of I can't share what I believe. And learning to discern and understanding that just because most of the people in my life this is what I'm experiencing, is that it will not always be that way. And that there will be people who do accept me and who receive me, but they can't unless I can still choose to share it. And am brave enough to share it, confident enough to share it. Just not, you don't even have to be anything to share. You just have to be yourself and release and surrender and be like, okay, well, I know some people will accept it and I know some people won't, but some people will. Some people will. And those people will be worth it because they really see you. And for me, that has been like 2, 3 people in my life, but I know how special those connections are to me because of what I'm able to do with them. So yeah, having Uranus, Neptune retrograde can be difficult. Very difficult when not consciously aware of it. And now that I'm bringing conscious awareness to it, I'm moving through life a little bit more like, okay, who can see the Medusa? Who can see, like, I don't know, like, who can see the flower spring out of the pot? Who who can see the flowers that bloom at night. You're kind of like that. Who's going to be there to see that? Who are you going to allow to see that? And when those people come into your life, it is a blessing, and it is beautiful, and it feels good. And it's also, too, for me, about not just saying who is worthy of seeing all of this, but also like choosing to still share at least more of it without all this like anxiety inside of myself. Like, I know they're not going to accept this. I know it's going to trigger them. And just kind of like allowing people to show me how much they are open to receiving, and not trying to go full on the opposite spectrum and force them into like, no, this is me, this is who I am, you're gonna like it or you're not. And instead being like, I'm just gonna be myself, and whatever is repelled by that is repelled by that, and whatever is magnetized by that is magnetized by that, and kind of leave it at that. Thank you, Spirit. So thank you for listening to this. Thank you for receiving this. Thank you, Adrian, for asking the question. I appreciate being invited to answering it, because it has led to a lot for me, and I trust and hope that it will have led or is leading to a lot for you. So until next time, take a breath. Think about how unique you are, how weird you are, what you believe, what you don't believe, what you want to share, what you don't want to share, if you feel safe to share or not, if you have those around you who do accept that and appreciate them for how beautiful they are for accepting you. And yeah, take it one day at a time. Thank you for listening. Until next time, as always, I send you peace, I send you love.